All right, we're going to focus the 4 hours today kind of around Blackbeard and some things that he's taught us. So his influence will come and go as the course comes and goes. And there are a couple of things, we call them brethren of the coast. He passed on to those who are really savvy in the business some very valuable lessons. First of all, he was a master marketer in his day. He was skilled in logo design and social media. If you were on the coast in the Americas in those days, in what is now the United States, you knew who Blackbeard was if you were on the East Coast. He was that good. He was that good. He was a master motivator. His crew were so motivated they would be willing to take a musket for him, and some did in combat. Now, he had strategies that built on that, and we're going to be talking about some of those today. He was skilled in logistics. He knew where to go and get goods for him. He helped grow Bath, North Carolina. Anybody here know where Bath is? That was one of his logistics. And they created what they called necessaries. And so they didn't have convenience stores in those days for folks, much less for pirates. So he created these, again, necessaries, so that they could go in, they could get the necessary thing for them to go back to sea and continue to go. And he was obviously skilled in keeping ahead of what he needed to do. He was also excellent in developing mutual relationships with key political leaders. Anyone here know who Governor Eden was? Boy, it's been a while since some of you all took. How many here took North Carolina history? Kidding. He was so influential that they named a town after him. We call it Edenton. And has some of the oldest establishments in that area. And Edenton is a beautiful harbor for those of you that are into sailing. He knew what he needed to do and developed a close relationship with political leaders. Those of you who are part of your local associations, as well as you all, you know who you need to have a relationship with City Hall or in the county planning or whatever. You develop relationships. That's what he did. If he needed something, he would go to them and go from there. And obviously your state staff looks after what's going on for you in Columbia. Now, one of his real strengths was his ability to negotiate in a variety of situations. And we may talk about some of those or not. One of his means of negotiation was his outfit. And his outfit, and I'm not trying to be Blackbeard, we have Blackbeard here, is that he had a full growth of beard and didn't worry about trimming it, and it was black. And he would take gun fuses, weave them into strings of his beard. And when he would come over the gunwale, that's the high part around sailing vessels in those days, they would be lit. And so here you are, you're a merchant seaman, and you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of material that you're trying to get to somewhere in the colonies. And this guy comes over the gunwale wearing 2 braces of pistols, that's 6 pistols. You've already lifted that up, Captain, so you know this is the real deal. It's a little something they called a cutlass. He had 2 cutlasses, and he had more knives than you can count. And so often when he would land on the ship, he had already made his statement. And his logo, we've already seen, is an interesting flag. So he was the master at that. All right? And we'll let you play with this if you promise to play nice with one another.
Just be careful, it's sharp.
At the break.
Anybody recognize this fellow? Think back to college psychology. Oh, close.
Who said Freud? Well said.
Thank you. one eye.
Also, I think there might be a light control behind the podium there if you want to adjust the lighting. See it on the wall there?
We have a key. And there's something with duct tape over it, and we know not to touch things with duct tape over it.
Anyone
We'd
care,
electrocute it.
do we have any electricians with us that would like to?
And you had these slides on your handout, so I apologize for the lighting. And we'll get through this.
Well, we call him Captain Sigmund because he had an idea about education. Now, those of you that remember Freud from, this would be, I was introduced to him in high school in a course that I took, but I had him when I was a psychology major initially in college. He had this thing with his mama, and it influenced lots of stuff. We won't go there, don't worry. But the bigger deal is that he had this idea about education, and that's where it fits where you are right now. His idea about education is that if you really get involved in the experience, and that's what Fee and I have worked very hard to pull together this for you. If you really get involved in this, and you're making notes, and you're curious, and you're raising your hand for questions, and it's where you are, and you're caught up in what we call, in education, we call the teaching moment. If there's something else that's going on in your life, it could be in your business, it could be in your own personhood, it could be in your family, it could be political, you could be concerned about whatever. In the process of all that, more than likely you may come up with an answer. Now, he could not explain it, but somehow we take these two edges of the brain, and while we're doing this, it's over here problem solving, whatever you had. And I know this works because I've been doing this for about 35 years. And I've had enough students over the years. I can remember when students would send me, particularly from IBS, would send me a postcard and thank me for what I'd said. So I would sit with family or friends who would help me pull the thing together. I said, I didn't say that. But they were thanking me for whatever it was. That was telling me that this is what was working. So I'm hoping that you'll have that for you today. You may have a dilemma in your business, in your personal life, or otherwise, and you may have what we call an aha moment, and it will happen here, and that's a good thing.
So in part one of our course, this first 2 hours, we're going to start with charting our course. We're going to discuss the elements necessary to build or expand or take your company, your vision, your business, and build on that. We're also going to talk about paying for the voyage, because it always costs money. And we're also going to discuss finding and hiring crew members, whether that be employees or trade contractors. Part two, if you care to join us for part two,
And we hope you do.
we'll discuss setting sail, which is the day-to-day operations, keeping your powder dry. Now imagine, you're on a gunship, and on this gunship you have these massive barrels of gunpowder. If you don't keep that gunpowder dry, what happens to gunpowder when you put water on it?
Yeah, it lumps and is useless. Useless. All right, excellent.
And then we're going to talk about staying the course and also hanging on to your treasure. Because paying for the voyage and hanging on to your treasure are two different things.
All right, we're going to begin with charting your course, and we're going to talk about vision statements. We'll talk about mission statements, and there is a difference between the two. We're going to talk about business structure, and you will see where you are and maybe where you want to go. And then we'll talk about the elements of a business plan. But it always starts with why. And one of the questions that we often ask for these CEUs is that why you are here. Well, we're one of a handful of presenters, adult educators that work with the builders in North Carolina. If you're a licensed general contractor in North Carolina, you're one of the 25,000 licensed general contractors. You've got 8 hours of CEU each year. Anybody here know any GCs in North Carolina? They're not that excited about it, but we're one of those that come in and do that. And the first question that we ask is, why are you here? And it's because the state legislature says we gotta be here or we don't keep our license. Okay, beyond that. So be asking yourself, why are you here? The central issue of it. Why are you in business? And that sort of stuff. When we identify the why, it motivates us, right or wrong. It gives us the advantage of finding out where our strengths are, where our challenges are, our weaknesses are, and shoring those up. A lot of parts come into play as far as the why is concerned. That is our values, how we were raised as children, or some of us have not yet grown up and we're still in that stage, wherever that works out, and will reflect in what we do. The whys and how a parrot captain and why they use and what they do to command their crews. Here's an example of two groups. Anyone recognize the two lads to the right hand side? Yes, yes. The fellow to their left, to our left. Anybody recognize him? A fellow by the name of Langley. Dr. Langley. And they both had ideas about flying machines. Langley was better connected than the Wright boys. And so he had the equivalent of about $50 million from the then Pentagon to create a flying machine. What did the Wright boys do for their income to help them complete, which was a fairly successful venture? Where did they go? What office of the Pentagon did they talk to? Or their senator or their congressman?
Does anybody know what the Wright brothers actually did?
I think they repaired automobiles, early models.
It was a bicycle shop.
Bicycle shop. Yeah. At a bicycle shop. And their friends had bake sales. So it was just that simple. Where we're going with this is the motivation why. The Wright brothers wanted to make a difference in the world. Orville could see the Wright Flyer, as it was originally called. Have you all seen models of that? Is that scary that two human beings could be on that? But they could see themselves in Arizona, where there were no hospitals close by. But someone would fly their plane, their aircraft, land it, take a person who was seriously ill, put them on this aircraft, and fly them to a hospital. They saw it as an opportunity to make a difference. They were appalled by what both sides in World War I did to the airplane as they made it into a fighting aircraft. In their widest imaginations, they did not see it to be used for that. They won. But since Langley was better connected, he went on to have a lot of things named after him and ended up creating an aircraft that he flew off, the first aircraft carrier called the Langley. And it did this. So the motivation, he wanted to be famous. What did they want to do? What was their motivation? To make a difference. So we asked you fairly early on, what do you want to do? What is your why? What drives you? What drives your company? And if you are not in the exact leadership, those of you who are in project manager, you're in leadership. On the job site, those that around are looking to you for leadership. What is your why? What are you trying to do for those young men and women who come and go, who are part of the trade contractors and vendors in what you do?
Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up somewhere else. I have no navigational skills. That's why I'm the quartermaster. The quartermaster runs all of the supplies and the projects and the people. Not the navigator, because I can't, without the GPS, I'm lost. The good news is that I always know where I'm going. So I can stop and ask someone, I can use the GPS. That's good news. But if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up somewhere else. Habitat for Humanity's vision is a world where everyone has a safe and decent place to live, and housing, poverty, and homelessness is eliminated. That is their vision statement. The mission of the Home Builders Association of South Carolina is to serve the association members to enhance the environment for conducting business in the housing and building industry, and to maintain housing as a top priority in the state. Two very good vision and mission statements that you can use by example. A vision statement simply is a one-sentence distilled vision of your company for the future and in the way it outlines the long-term goals. A mission statement, on the other hand, is usually 2 or 3 sentences, concise, that sets forward what the company does, how it does it, and sometimes the why. I encourage people to always include the why, because we've spent, a bit of time on why. If you don't have a vision or mission statement, these are some guidelines to help you create those.
What's a core value? Core value literally is something of what you do and who you are. It speaks for who you are. It's something, if you look at the last of those down there, it's something that is worth dying for. Now that's an exaggeration. But what are you willing to put your reputation, your resources, your time, your energy, ideas into to making sure that it happens? That tells you what your core values are. You and your company is something that you all live out every single day in what you do. And in doing so, it should set you apart from your competition. Why? Because your competition is not here. They've not taken time to come and invest in themselves. They're out doing whatever they're doing. They may be going through Dunkin' Donuts to get the second run of coffee and some more of those incredible donuts, or wherever they go for that. So what are your core values? Your core values indeed end up driving you or helping you determine where you are as far as your business is concerned. And will tell you what your mission statement is, and will eventually tell you what your value statement is. Feed time management. This is a box. Do you remember Stephen Covey? 7 Habits? He's no longer with us, but left us a trove of incredible stuff. And this was the box that he had that helped him deal with what was important in life. We've got Eisenhower out here. When General Eisenhower was literally saving the world from the ravages of Nazi Germany, he did it on 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night. He would jump, we have any former military here? You know what a 6x is? That's an army vehicle with 6 tires. And he would drive through the night from point A to point B, often arriving early around breakfast at hospitals where he would go and look at the young men who had been wounded, some severely wounded, shake their hand and thank them for their what? Service. Just, this is the general. You know, he had stars that went all the way down here. Very, very humble man. but he did that because he knew what he was doing and watched his time and did that on 2 to 3 hours sleep. He got a little more sleep when he went to the White House. But that's the exaggeration of that. But he knew what was important and what was urgent. And Stephen Covey, if you've got his book out there, The 7 Habits, will give you some really great information on that. And will make a difference in your life, that what you are doing, that you're taking advantage of doing the most important things that you need to do when you need to do them. Fee?
I like this slide because it shows us in box number 1, which you also have on your handout, that it's high importance and high urgency. Crisis, pressing issues, deadlines, meetings. We all love meetings, right? The number 2 box, and then you can follow it around. What is least important is trivia, and maybe that's supposed to be trivial. Some phone calls aren't important, and time wasters. We all have them. We can identify some of those. It gets us out of the way. A good friend of mine said, if you accomplish, I used to be a list maker, and my daily list were 12 things. He said, you're doing it wrong. The most successful people have 2 main priorities a day, and if you accomplish both of those things, you're doing great. Anything else that you can get accomplished, excellent. If you accomplish those 2 main things a day, and so I started doing that. It brought my stress level down. It allowed me to complete more items and not be overwhelmed. It was good advice. 2 things a day. So let's talk about business structures. We may have some sole proprietors in here. One person, unlimited personal liability. Self-employment taxes are paid and personal taxes are paid. Partnerships, always 2 or more people. There is an exclusion in the IRS code for a husband and wife partnership, but you can structure partnerships with a husband and wife, and it actually provides, if you structure it as a limited partnership, it provides some lessening of that liability. Otherwise, all of the partners in a partnership have personal liability. You also pay self-employment tax, except for with a limited partnership. LLCs, or limited liability companies, is 1 or more people. Owners are never personally liable. And the issue with that is that you still are paying self-employment tax and personal tax if your LLC is incorporated. C corporations are generally for larger corporations. And then S corporations is the one that I always recommended in my tax practice. You can't have more than 100 people, and you can't have any foreign owners. And then the owners are never personally liable. You do pay personal income tax, but with an S corporation, you can W-2 and 1099 everyone who works for you and works with you, and we'll talk about that later, and then you don't pay that self-employment tax. Self-employment tax is a big deal, and if any of you guys have questions about taxes, I had a tax practice for about 20 years until it killed me.
All right, let's talk about goals. So what are your goals? We're hoping today that you will list at least 2 short-term and 2 long-term goals using this simple matrix. Short-term goal is 6 months to a year. Long-term is anything over a year. Now it used to be, this has changed in the last 5 years. Used to be short-term goals would be up to 5 years. And then things have changed. It has moved. But the idea is that you need to be specific. So we would say to you, what's your goal for I mean, you're already in the middle or toward the end rather of 23. For 24, what are your goals for 24? And be specific. And I've been in classes where they say, "Oh, that's a dumb question there, Mr. Monroe. We want to build more houses." I said, "Okay. How many is more?" Let's be specific. Those of you who are renovators, I didn't say remodelers, I said what? Renovators. Now, we also teach that, and we're a little involved in the renovation business. And the reason that we encourage you to become a renovator is that Chuck and the truck, or Stan and the van, are remodelers. They're the ones that come and see your sign and go inside. "I don't care what their price is, I'll beat it by $5,000. And some of you have had to go in and clean up after them. True? Is it always more expensive to clean up after them because they didn't do it right the first time? Yes. So I'm going to encourage you to call yourself renovators and not remodeling. None of my business, but just trying to be subtle here. But be specific. We're going to have X number of renovation jobs at this many dollars. And start doing that and plan backwards because you do that. It needs to be measurable. How do you measure it? Is it in dollars or is it in quantity? Those of you who are building custom and semi-custom, obviously will be a number of units. And we'll be talking about break-even points and all those kinds of things soon enough. But what is that for you? If you are in a development, you need to go in and know that you're going to complete this cul-de-sac or this street, and let it be specific, and it needs to be measurable, because you are building, and you don't just build houses, you also need to do what? Thank you. Sell them. Anybody here just enjoy building and have them stand there and look pretty? Yeah. The challenge today, and I love, without going political, one person who is running for public office, record high interest rates. The whole economy is going to hell. What's the interest rate right now? What are you paying for 30 years?
7.6.
Okay, all right. All right. You're looking at someone that when he screwed up and got promoted to Chicago, went from a 7% to an 18% mortgage rate. I had dear friends who went back to college, and they were bankers. And my builder buddies, and I had a bunch of them then, would go in and would borrow money to pay their what? Interest. Okay? And some of you you've been there. You know what I'm saying? 7%, we'll get through this. 7.6, we'll get through this. There is right now a deficit of 1 million homes in the United States of America. 1 million homes. We're short that many. Who's going to build those? You all. Not all of you are going to build 1 million, but okay. So just be aware of that. Actionable means you're going to have to do something to make it happen. And be realistic. We've talked with and have done some consulting with single-family custom builders, and they're going to triple their business. Well, they could. They built one custom house in 22 and 23. Yeah, they could do 2 or 3. Yes, all right. But for those that go in and say, "How many are you doing now?" "Well, I'm a medium volume. I'm doing 20. "So what are you going to do next year?" "Well, we're going to double our business. We're going to do 40 houses, Mr. Monroe." That's great. Where are you getting the lots? Are you all finding a shortage of lots in South Carolina? I need to see some heads.
It's not easy.
Yeah, do what?
It's not easy.
No, it's not easy. Because they're not making more what? Land. Thank you. That's what my dad said. He said, "Son, go buy land because they're not making any more of it." And so that's one of the challenges. But again, the base model out there is that we need to build, you all need to build totally within the Federation 1 million houses more a year than we're doing currently. And the last one, time belt. So you give yourself a year. What are you going to do in 24? Give yourself 12 months to do these specific things.
Let's talk about business plans. We have templates available for you for all of the plans, manuals, and some of there's an estimator Excel sheet. And so we're happy to share that with you, no charge at all. I'm going to go get the sign-in sheet for that from the front desk. But let's talk about business plans. I have a really great template. It's actually not mine, but I modified it a bit from HubSpot.com. If you give them their email and then put them in your spam or promotional file so you can delete them once a week, they will give you access to this database of templates. They're customizable. They have different areas that they address. And so I would recommend HubSpot to you, not an endorsement, but when it's free, it's free. In a traditional business plan, it's a comprehensive plan. You list everything from your blood type to your favorite nephew to, it's very comprehensive. It also will help you get funding. So if you're looking to expand and grow your business, having a business plan is a great idea. You give a company description, self-explanatory. Bless you, goodness. An executive summary. So, my name is Fauna Monroe. I've had 6 careers in my lifetime. I know I don't look that old. He does, but I don't. And in these careers, I've learned to educate people. I've learned to talk about tax practice and law. I've learned to do hospitality. And so there's a lot of things that I've done. I couldn't decide what I wanted to be when I grew up. But the executive summary is really important because it shows who the leadership of these companies are. Now, as the company owner or CEO or CFO, do you have to write these business plans? No. You can have one of your colleagues or your employees. You can even farm it out to someone else and work with them. I actually had people consult with me to do that at one point. Stephen was talking about mortgages, and before the boom in 2008, when especially sole proprietors would come to me, we would have to squeeze every nickel out of their tax returns so they could just afford a house. Talk about those crazy balloon payment and interest-only mortgages. It was a nightmare. And then when it crashed in 2008, all of that went away, and it's very cut and dried now. This is what you got to show. If you want business money, you'll want a business plan. Market analysis. Anybody know what market analysis is? Well, simply said, it's analyzing a market. But if you're a custom builder, you're going to look at the need in your area. You're going to look at your competitors. You're going to need to understand that we're at a shortage. Just in North Carolina alone, out of that million, what is it, about 150,000? We need 150,000 in North Carolina. I'm not sure what it is for South Carolina, but I would think it'd be close. I don't think South Carolina is as populous as North Carolina, but I'm not sure. The organization and management of your structure. If you're a one-man band, that's fine. But you need to show how you're managing all of these things and what you're outsourcing. But the organization and the management of your structure, how is that done? How is that achieved? What service or product do you sell? What are your marketing and sales plans? And we'll get to marketing and sales in a little bit. What are your financial projections? And again, if you use that SMART goal worksheet or that SMART goal just step by step, let's talk about realistic financial projections. Our friend who was a contractor, a builder, and now is a landlord, knows what are the projections and what is going to be the attrition and what is going to be the people who aren't going to pay and so on and so forth. If you're doing a funding request it's always good to have a template for funding. We're asking for this so we can expand our business, grow our business. And then the appendix or appendices always includes, like, if you have P&Ls, and we're going to talk about financial statements as well. Now you can also do a lean template. We live in a microwave society. Everybody wants it like yesterday. So if you're thinking about pitching something to someone, whether it be for funding or other reasons, consider doing a lean business plan. It just lists your key activities, your key partnerships, your key resources. What value are you trying to do with this business? What are your customer relationships currently, and what do you project them to be? What customer segments are you going after? New home buyers, people looking to rent to own possibly. You know, there are ways, and this is a side note, but there are ways that you can help people achieve their goal of homeownership by renting to them. Channels, what channels are you going to use to sell? What's your cost structure? And what are your revenue streams? How are you making money now? We're going to take a 10-minute break. Thank you guys for staying awake and engaged.
Okay, let's pay for the board. Let's pay for the voyage. And how do you pay for the voyage? How do you pay for what you do? Well, part of that is to have a marketing plan. And one of the things that Fee and I do in North Carolina, again, we're working through 25,000 licensed general contractors, and they got to be there. Do they want to be there? No. Why? Because the state legislature said you need to be there. General Statutes 87.1.114.11110 says you got to be there, or you lose your license. So they don't want to be there. So we're asking about marketing plans. I cannot tell you how many North Carolina, in this market, North Carolina builders don't have a marketing plan. And so we have developed a marketing plan for builders, and it's beauty, and we've got a sign-up sheet up here in case you want it. We'll send it to you without any cost at all. There's no agenda except now you've got a marketing plan. The beauty of it is that all you need to do is you fill in the blank. It's one of those forms on Word where it says how many houses you're going to build. Boom. What are you going to charge for them? Boom. What are you going to pay for that? And you put it in, and it does all the calculations for you. Yes. I'm out of the way. I'm going to come up there, but I just want to make sure that you know that the template is available to you when it comes as far as the marketing plan. Accounting, she's already covered part of that with you. What is CRM? Anybody doing a CRM? Somebody in your organization doing that?
I use Builder Trend. Put
Oh.
in all of our prospects.
Okay, all right, good. Yeah, all right, good.
What does it stand for?
Client relationship manager.
You take a lead and it helps you process it and work through it. And that's before, during, and after. It is a sweet piece. Particularly if you're trying to get referrals, it becomes a very, very, very valuable tool when you're trying to do the resource. And then we're going to talk about funding resources as well. Now the CRMs, and again, you've got color pictures of those. You got to have this solid marketing plan, and it's not in a shoebox. It's something that you're actually using, and it will make a difference by keeping track of those kinds of things.
Now these are the Pirates of Oz. I don't know if you all have read any of Mr. Bohm's books, but he had a total of 19, I believe. And so they were all about the different characters, not just his most famous, The Wizard of Oz. And so I'd recommend, if you have children or you just want something that is non-violent or R-rated to watch or read, check out some of Mr. Frank Bohm's books that he wrote. They're classics. We're going to listen to
And then finally, I'm going to add, this is a corporate show, I'm going to end with a little corporate math. And take engineers, for example. Take engineering, my people. Take engineers and you add in social skills, and you're left with marketing, right? You take marketing and you remove the truth, and you're left with sales. You take sales and you remove the brain, and you're left with management. And if you take management and you remove sense of humor, you're left with human resources. Now, I'm doing this one night, this is true, and some guy in the front goes, I'm in pharmaceutical sales, we're completely different. Pharmaceutical sales is completely different. And you know, he's right. Because if you take pharmaceutical sales and you remove a suit, you're left with a drug dealer. That's what you have. You guys have a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
So just a little bit of humor to bring us back in. As we've said before, we offer this template free of charge. You can change the color, you can put your logo and your company name, but we offer this template, and it is a step-by-step guide on planning your marketing. We teach another course, Marketing for New Construction, and it actually applies, just like the Green Builder marketing tools, it applies to all businesses. And so you will get some gems from there. If you have a marketing plan, but you're thinking maybe we need to do a new strategy, we can make some recommendations about marketing books. Stephen is a master marketer, and I am like in Oz, I'm the guy behind the curtain. So, Oz. Marketing, branding, and reaching your target audience is essential. And a marketing plan will help you achieve those goals. So again, when we talk about SMART goals in your marketing plan, there needs to be a goal for your marketing. And that's the long and the short of a marketing plan. You talk about social media. And I don't know about you, but I hate social media. It's so invasive, but it's necessary. So find yourself an intern from the local community college or the local university, or someone that really just is passionate about social media, because it will help your business. Now we get to talk about fun stuff. Accounting systems. Okay. How many of you all use accounting systems? Sure. Most of us do. I told you I had 6 careers in my life. One of the things I did was I worked with Intuit, makers of QuickBooks, so that's a disclaimer. But I helped them develop QuickBooks, and then moved into TurboTax. And so I did a lot of things with Intuit to pull the nuts and bolts together for those things, and then for years and years and years provided tax advice as an expert. QuickBooks has an online, a supported version, and a desktop version. If you haven't checked out the online version, I would highly recommend it, because it makes keeping track. You can take pictures of your receipts from your phone. I mean, just all sorts of features that are integrated in that system. Because if you're into it, because they loved acronyms, if you're into it, then you're not going to want to be tracking the day-to-day expenses as much. But it's really, really important. How are we going to know how our business is doing? It's not by the bank balances. It's by what we're spending every day and what we're spending it on. So an accounting system is really important. Sage is another one recommended for builders. Core is another one. And once upon a time, we all relied on Excel sheets. So you put in the formulas, and it would do all of the calculation. really cool thing about Excel is you can import all of your bank information into a CSV, which is a Excel file, and then you can sort, and you don't even have to do the data entry anymore. And so as long as you have a basic knowledge of Excel, and if you don't, there is a great resource out there. It's called YouTube. You can learn how to do anything on YouTube. And it's free. So find a good resource if you want to learn more about Excel. It is a very inexpensive tool. These other accounting softwares, they have some expense to it. So choose wisely. Delegate that work, because all of you have specialties. If you're not an accountant, delegate that work. But verify. Always, always, always verify. How much does it cost? How much time does it take? Like I said, Google and YouTube are great resources. Now, some of you said you already have a CRM. There is a wealth, and I think HubSpot is one of them that provided another template that we have. Software or cloud-based programs. We used at my tax firm, we used something called Redtail, and it was great. We were product testers, and then they gave it to us as a great discount. So look for those opportunities when you're trying to decide on your client relationship manager. Track your leads, stay in touch, and show some love. We would gather people's birth month, and at the beginning of the month, we'd send everybody out a birthday card. We didn't want the date, we didn't want the year, it weirded people out, so we just asked their birth month. Of course, on the tax return, you have to put in your birth date, but that's a different thing. They didn't want my office staff to know their birthday, so just like, okay, birth month. And then we figured out how to pull that out of my tax software, and that was a different story. I have read that there's a program called Monday Sales CRM, and it is supposed to be very, very, very good for any kind of construction industry work. So whether you're a builder, whether you're a renovator, Monday Sales CRM. Salesforce, again, was created by Intuit, and so, or is now owned by Intuit. It wasn't created by Intuit, but Salesforce was one that we used, and it is cumbersome. It's gotten better, but it's cumbersome. HubSpot, when I told you you could get free templates and guides and things like that, HubSpot is a good option as well. And you can always set up an Excel spreadsheet. But again, we're talking about data entry. And that's how much does it cost and how much time does it take? Those two questions you should always ask when dealing with these things. All right. Stephen, would you like to talk about funding sources?
Be pleased to. Got a series of them here for you. One is investors. Those are folks out there who may be interested in putting some of their cash in your hand. The idea here is you need to come up with an elevator speech when you meet them. What do you think I mean by an elevator speech?
3 minutes or less.
We had a fun elevator experience this morning.
And it took longer than that, but it was the local, not the express. But to be able to describe your business that quickly, because if not, their eyes will glaze over, or you can give them a lot of minutia, which again they won't absorb. What are the key words in that speech that you need to tell them? What are the key words that your company is known for? Exactly. You take those things and you drop them, and they catches their attention. Why are you uniquely qualified to succeed? What separates you from your competition? What are you doing now that your competition is not doing or can't do, but even more than that, won't do. And if you get to know who your competition is, then they will tell you if you go and observe. Not only that, but your money produces money. Your business produces money. So have those for you and know what you're going to do. Tell them what their return on their investment might be, and be reasonable. Give me $250,000 and we'll double your normal rate of return at the bank. No. Give them something that is realistic. Let them know that there may be some risk involved. What's the most vulnerable time in the building process? Take your regular build, which is depending on what you're building, 90 days to 6 months. What's the most vulnerable time of that cycle for you all? What do you think it is? Time-wise.
Beginning, middle, end?
Coming out of the ground, framing stage, well, all of it.
It's all challenging.
All right.
But we got the end, which is why. Why would it be the end stage?
Yeah. The next to last thing is that you've finished 2 houses. Again, this is for the new startups. You finished the second house and you have sold it. That's a big deal. I can remember getting in the business 50 years ago, sir, when they would go out, and this is ancient history for some of you. You could buy a lot for $5,000 and go from there. And you knew that the builder was successful because what would he do after he finished the second house? What would he do? He had a beat-up pick-em-up truck when he started, but when he finished the second one, he would buy one of 2 things. What were they?
A new pickup.
Or
A new house.
a boat. And you knew, and of course, over time I got to see them. By now we call them the big-ass pickup trucks. Some of you may own a big-ass pickup truck. People love you when you pull into the parking lot of your favorite food store and they can't see around you for blocks. But that's right, it's yours, and you need it because that's part of your business. But if you're trying to interest an investor, do you really want to have a $90,000 pickup truck? Maybe not. Maybe not. Your choice. Bankers, you're going to have to give them 3 years of your tax returns. Financial statement that is in there. Evidence that you have liquidity for those who would be the guarantors. I have at least 3 solid trade references. And these would be those trade partners that you have that know you and that you pay your bills when? On time. Are you getting the discounts? Yes. Because you are smart. That's why you're still in business. List your current inventory. That is both lots and houses and the prospects of those that are out there. And then a list of other banking relationships that you might have, as well as relationships maybe with others. It is just part of that. All right, often overlooked.
Sorry. That's supposed to be the wind blowing. Some of you may have become familiar with the Small Business Administration during the pandemic. Anytime businesses would come to me, I'd always refer them to the Small Business Administration. They offer loans, investment capital, which is a really great thing to have. Our friend that is a builder, and a former builder and landlord, said that the end of the project may be the most challenging. That's because the funding dries up and you haven't made the sale yet. And so something that loans and investment capital can do, it can bridge the gap. They also offer grants. It's mostly for research and development, but check into what they offer. They offer surety bonds to protect your investments, and they also offer disaster relief. Some of you that are on the coast may have used this source, but check out the Small Business Administration funding programs. It's a great and well-organized website. And now we're going to talk about finding and keeping your crew. Now, Blackbeard had some methods of finding and keeping his crew, and one of those is when he took pirate ships, he would give the pirates on the opposing ship a choice. One, you can, or two, you can join me. And if you join me, I'm going to give you an equal part here. You'll get the same treatment, the same food, the same compensation. We'll treat you like family. I thought that was one of the neatest things that Blackbeard did. Stephen can tell you a whole lot more. He is a Blackbeard nut. Can you tell?
Well, we're in the presence of Blackbeard.
That's right.
We're honored, sir. We're honored, sir. Well, and he went unexpected places to find crew. The Queen Anne's Revenge was the ship that he got. French built. It was a slaver. What do I mean by slaver? What do you think they did with that vessel?
Transported slaves.
They transported slaves. And so they went on board, and gorgeous, gorgeous ship. Nice lines to it, sleek. It didn't look like anything bulky the French or the English produced. And so he fell in love with the vessel. 92 feet long, up to 300 sailors on this vessel. Tight. But when he went on there, he found slaves. And so he offered slaves the opportunity. You can stay on what's left of this, because we're going to put everybody on longboats and let them go wherever in the Atlantic, or you can join my crew. His last crew, 60% of them were slaves. And so they had, for the first time since they had been taken into slavery from Africa, they were free. And they got the same share that all the other pirates got on the boat. So they had their food, they had their lodging, they had their weapons, and they had this camaraderie based on honor. I think that Blackbeard came up with the first democracy, if you will, because crew could, if they didn't like the captain, and some of them didn't, they could fire the captain. Kind of like Congress. It just took one pirate to say, we need to do something about the captain. And they fired some, including Van, who was a horrendous, bloody pirate. And the crews were embarrassed by what this guy did. So they fired him, put him in a longboat, gave him one weapon, 2 bullets, or two musket balls, his cutlass, and put him on a deserted island. But back to the crew again. These were incredibly devoted men to Blackbeard. They literally would take a bullet for him. When he was in his last voyage, one of his, and this guy was well over 6 feet, which was a big person in those days, had himself lashed to the main pole for the chafe mast in their vessel, and has explosives around him with one match, that if anything would happen, then he would light this, blow himself and the vessel up to save those others who were on board. He was that devoted. Now, I don't expect your trade contractors would do that for you. Maybe, but there's a way to do that. So they did that in order to keep the crew. Looking for Nessie, how do you find the people that can do the job? Well, you can search your local association. I'm not sure how involved your association is as far as looking for trade partners out there. and as well as those that have the trades as well. Ask your current trades for recommendations. Who would they be willing to work with? You have your own ethos, your own way of doing things, your own ethics. If they're comfortable with you and how you do business, ask them if you need a plumber. Find a plumber that would fit in well with what you do. And the salespeople who come and go, who will be on your job site because they represent the products that you're putting in your house, ask them if they're aware of some trade contractors that are out there. And where do you find them? Among other places, you may find them on LinkedIn if they're part of a new generation, or social media in your area. It's okay to ask your banker. Why would your banker want to make sure that you have good, qualified trade contractors and trade vendors? What would be the incentive for your banker to make sure you have those?
Be successful.
Thank you. So you can pay your loans back, right, to be successful. Good.
Well, and he may also know, or she may also know trade contractors that businesses may be a little bit lean right now because they have a specialty niche. So ask your banker. We have gotten references from our banker for all sorts of things. We bank with several banks too, and that makes it even more fun.
Go to other markets. I'm not sure about where you are specifically. We're in the Triad, so 3 major metropolitan areas. We're 1.3 million people among the Triad. And so, okay, to go from High Point over to Winston or to Greensboro or to some of the smaller areas around there and look for those folks that are out there. Trade schools, are your trade schools now getting involved? I'm getting several of you shaking your heads. All right. Do what?
A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, come on now. What we need to do as an adult, and between the two of us, we've got 4 adult children. What we need to do now, if they were high school age, we would really want them to go to the university, because that's the sign that they're going to be successful. Case in point, a little project in downtown Greensboro. It's a Hyatt, and with some apartments, with a world-class restaurant that's part of it. They're behind the right field fence of the new state-of-art, gorgeous baseball stadium for the A club that Greensboro has. And it's built by a fellow who's been fairly successful. I can remember selling Roy when Roy was just getting involved with his dad. He was about that tall. And the newspaper interviewed him and said, "Tell me, Mr. Carroll, how are things going on with you?" He said, "Well, things are kind of iffy right now." "How could they be iffy?" He says, "I need a plumber." "Plumber? You got all this work to do? You got to find a plumber." He says, "Well, I don't know." He said, "I've got 3 that I've done business with over the years. One of them comes to see me in his Lamborghini. The other one comes in his Mercedes 300. Are you familiar with the Mercedes 300? How many Mercedes 300s do they build a year? 300. And it's the engine itself is built by one person who literally signs the engine block. There are lots of zeros behind that. And the other one, Roy said he couldn't pronounce the name of the product of the automobile. They've all been successful. He said, they don't need me anymore. So go find some out there who are hungry and invest in them and give them a chance to be successful. And they will appreciate it, and you will grow together when you do just that. And they are out there. Network with other trades, trade schools. We've already talked about that. Encourage them to go out. What do plumbers get per hour?
Too much, that's right.
A good plumber gets what? $150 to $175 an hour at least, after they've arrived, and you pay them what? $90 to come to the job? Or are things different in South Carolina? Is that about right? All right, so they're going to become, other than a teacher, and Lord knows we need teachers, but they're going to become something else, or they're going to become a computer tech. Make a difference there. Word of mouth, if you have a great work environment and are good to your people and care for them and look after them and encourage them, and it's a positive workforce, they're going to tell others, and it's okay to have those people come. You got temp agencies, you got the community colleges that are coming, and then we got lateral entry. They went to one survey that we saw went out and interviewed a bunch of young people who were between 18 and 30, and they were out of school or just now finishing school. And you see the percentages up there. Remember the Great Resignation from 22, where millions of workers walked off the job? I'm thinking about Columbia. Columbia was devastated by people that simply said, take this job and
Shove it.
I don't need it anymore. Charlotte changed. Mecklenburg County in North Carolina changed because they walked off by the thousands. They don't want to do it. So go find them that are out there. When surveyed, they did some survey, they said that had they known about it, they might have thought very seriously about being in the construction trades. 90% of those responding said shop was one of their favorite classes. So take advantage of that. One of our children lives in, what's it called? Upcountry, Greenville? Upstate. He's in upstate. Graduate. Dad helped put him through. I think we finally finished making those payments. And went into a lovely job in inventory control, high-tech inventory. Traveled to China 4 times on special missions. Got involved in sales, going to China. And then after a while, this is not fun. So what is he doing now? He's painting houses. Painting houses. You can't get him. He's 9 months backed up. And his business is a little different, Captain Blackbeard. It's called Color My Kilt. And so Stephen and his crew paint in what? Kilts. And he took his marketing degree and has a great logo and is doing social media and all the rest of that stuff. Cannot paint fast enough. Are they picky? You know the little line that goes down through here that every painter knows what they need to do on either side of it, sees it, makes it happen, and they're now doing some refacing of cabinets as they do some renovation work. College degree. I think he's made most of his payments now on that to get both of us out of debt. But he loves what he does because he's working with what? His hands. What should his dad should have done early on?
Send them to trade school.
Yes.
It would have been so much less expensive. And that's what my daughter is an actress. And actresses have to have other work to support them until they land roles. One of our very good friends in California said, become a plumber. Because, again, you know, you go work for an outfit that sends you out to do house calls in these big houses. Our cousin says always buy the worst house in the best neighborhood because you can fix it up and then it will be as valuable as the houses around it. But our friend said, you know, learn a trade. And she does a lot of nanny work in between, but she's also learned different skills that she can market and learn a trade. And that's one of the talks that we give to school-age kids. Another source, and I'm going to take the time to talk about this, is that since 2021, over 1 million women have joined the construction workforce as trade contractors. We did a major renovation of a almost brand new home for a young lady with severe disabilities. And I love it when I can find a woman. Stephen loves to have women doctors because a study just came out that said if your surgeon is a woman, you're like 98% of their patients survive. Whereas male doctors, the number goes down a bit. And so there are more vacancies than we can fill right now. So if you know a woman who's going, I don't want to, my kids are grown, I don't know what to do with my life, you can go to a community college and take a construction course and learn just about anything. Now, I wouldn't suggest YouTube for that type of thing, but you can actually get certified. I mean, one of the things that I won't do is mess with electricity. Just is not my thing. Plumbing, I'm not afraid of. So my hands are a little bit not as strong now, so I can't torque things as good. But since the vacancies are continuing to grow, diversify, you know, and I know I'm talking to multi-generations here, but the thing is that diversity and inclusion only makes us better. And if you see someone who has a knack, like my mom, bless her heart, she's very creative. And if I had known that, I would have encouraged that more for her instead of, because I watched her do the 9 to 5 as a nurse, an RN, all of her life. And I mean, it sucked her dry. And I wish I had encouraged her more to do the creative things that she was very, very good at. And so diversify and be inclusive and encourage maybe women that are empty nesters or looking for a career where they don't have to get a 4-year or 8-year degree. I mean, it's not fun sitting in a classroom anymore. And online school is great, but you don't get the same experience. Trade school, though, we even have in our area, Goodwill offers trade school programs for people, teaching them trades. That's why they can't keep the help at the Goodwill. So, you know, these people are growing and doing new things. So just an encouragement for another market that you can look at.
All right, let's talk about interviews when you do get involved with that, folks. Is you've got their resume, however you do for the application for them. Ask them the tough questions such as, what's your greatest strength? What do you bring to me as a trade contractor? What do you bring to me? Or what can be your biggest challenge as a plumber, framer, finish carpenter, common laborer? Go from there.
If they say working with other trades, that's a red flag, okay? You want your trades to be able to cooperate with each other. And you guys probably know these things, but I think they're worth repeating. If they say working with the electricians or working with the plumbers, or, you know, I mean, you need a finished carpenter that can deal with the plumbers and the electricians, not ones that hate working with other people.
Make sure that they demonstrate what they have. Quick illustration, maybe a minute. Friend of ours, part of the network, needed a finished carpenter. Finished carpenters are golden. True? True? Good finished carpenter and a painter can what?
Cover a lot of sin.
Right.
Well, I didn't. You said that, I didn't. And several of you were shaking your head, yes. So he hires this guy, impressed, interviews well. He goes out on the job, gives him one. And this particular one in Greensboro, one of these big houses. You know, 16-piece millwork, no MDF, the real wood stuff. And he comes in. He was going to buy the guy lunch because he interviewed well. It's about 11:30, so it comes in. And the whole house smells like it has been, lots of wood has been cut. So he goes in, and so he's stepping over this, and stepping over this, and stepping over this, and stepping over this. And he goes around to the back, what would be the family area, and the fellow was teaching himself how to use a saw. He didn't think to say, show me. Okay? So make sure that they know what they're doing. Ask them what they enjoy most about it. And these would be generous hints to get them to go from there. All right, now we're serious about providing you with manuals and templates that you may want to use or not. You've got the printout for them to fill in.
He was too busy at the front desk.
All right, so we'll have it for the afternoon session. We're giving 5 templates away?
I think there's 6.
Okay.
Just catch up with me. I'll be around. We can use these brown sheets of paper, jot down your email, and anything we've talked about, I can send you resources. We've developed employee and trade contractor manuals. I helped a company, a startup, back in 2008, who was providing care in the community, so like foster care for adults with intellectual disabilities. And the first thing I told them is because all of this is so regulated, you're going to need a manual for everything. And so we pulled together the employee manual, the host family manuals. Employee manuals and trade contractor manuals will save you a lot of headache. They're not that long. I think the ones that we're providing the templates are 4 pages. And basically, when you onboard somebody, you want to allow 1 hour to 1 day for onboarding, including going over whichever manual it is. Trade contractors, 1 hour onboarding is plenty of time. We're going to talk in a minute about the trade contractor agreement, but in these manuals, you have the welcome. This is what we expect of you, the job description. This is our mission. These are our core values. An overview of what it's like to be with the company culture, and then expectations. If you're doing an employee manual, you're going to want the compensation piece in there. And but the expectations are so important. So if your rule is no pets on the job, no drugs and alcohol on the job, no loud music on the job, these are the hours that we expect you to work within. If you're on time, you're late. So allow that extra 10 minutes to get to work. If you're early, you're on time. And so just, it's a day well spent, and I know that everybody's busy, but if you're having someone come into your company and you want them to do something specific, onboarding's great. Now let's talk about the trade contractor agreement.
All right, and this will be the last thing that we'll look at before you're dismissed for lunch, and we'll see you in a couple of hours. We've got the scope of work, which you've already talked about, what they do, who furnishes what, liability, all that, their insurance information, all that's there. Safety. Do I need to say safety again? The I-9 and W-4, those are there. How you're going to pay them, their warranties, how they respond to callbacks and that sort of stuff, and how conflicts will be handled. Make sure your attorney is involved in this as you draft this stuff together. Now, there is a difference in a contractor and an employee. Fee, what's the critical difference?
An employee, you give a job description to, you give work hours to, you tell them what to do, and sometimes how to do it. A trade or a contractor, one that you can 1099, you can give them a deadline or a time frame, but you cannot tell them when to do or what to do, because then they can, if you tell them either one of those things and they're pissed off that you haven't taken taxes out, they can go to the IRS and say, but they told me that I had to be here from 8 to 5 painting, and they told me that I had to use these kinds of brushes and this kind of paint. No. The difference is you cannot tell a trade contractor exactly what to do and how to do it. Now, you can give them a plan, and you can say, I need you to follow these specs specifically. You can give them specs, but you cannot dictate how they do their work or when. You can give them a time frame, but you cannot give them a schedule. You'll want to schedule with your contractors, but you do not want to give them a specific, you have to work from 8 to 5, you have to do it this way. These are our work hours. We can work from 6 to 5, but you can't say, I want you on the job at 4 o'clock on this day, or else they can turn around and the IRS might just consider them an employee, and then you've got to pay back in all the taxes.
Thank you. We've talked about safety, safety, safety. We're going to end with a video that emphasizes safety, and we'll see you back, what is it, 2 or 2:30? 2:30? Okay. Enjoy the trade show and the other neat things going to happen. All right?